Hello, this is Eric Wagner, and for this project, I looked at two articles covering the same event: the Gophers football game against number one ranked Ohio State on October 4th, 2025. One story comes from the University of Minnesota Athletics website, and the other was written by Randy Johnson for the Star Tribune. I wanted to see how each outlet approached the same game differently, how they wrote about it, how they presented it, and what those differences say about the purpose of each platform. The first article is called Gophers Fall at Number 1 Ohio State Homecoming on Deck, and it was published by the university's athletic department on October 4th. The second is Gophers overmatched against Ohio State, but hope remains for future, by Randy Johnson of the Star Tribune, published the next day. Both are describing the same 42-3 loss, but they do it in completely different ways. The university piece is written by staff inside the athletics department, so it's meant to inform fans and reflect positively on the program. The Star Tribune article, meanwhile, is independent journalism. It's written for a general Minnesota audience and focuses more on interpretation and reaction. When you look at both sites, you can see several kinds of convergence at work. There's technological convergence because both articles use digital tools like photos, score summaries, and stat graphics to make the story more interactive. There's content convergence since both pull from the same pool of information. They use the same quotes from Coach Fleck's press conference and the same NCAA stat feed. You can also see professional convergence, where the athletic department and journalists are relying on similar sources and shared materials, even though they're writing for different audiences. And finally, economic convergence is where they split. The Star Tribune runs on a subscription model, using a paywall for access, while Gopher Sports stays free but highlights corporate sponsors like Toyota, Cub, and 3M at the bottom of the page. The biggest difference shows up in how each article is written. The Gopher Sports recap is short and to the point. It gives you the score, a breakdown of key plays, and a few basic quotes. It's clean and factual, but there's no real analysis or emotional language. The Star Tribune, however, opens like a story. It sets the scene inside Ohio Stadium, talks about the crowd, and uses quotes from Coach Fleck to show how the team felt about the loss. It's longer, more descriptive, and written to give readers a sense of what the game was actually like. So, even though they're covering the same event, one sounds official and internal, while the other reads like a narrative meant to inform and engage the public. Their websites also tell two very different stories. The Gopher Sports site is built around school branding. Everything's maroon and gold, the layout's simple, and there's a focus on the team itself with links to rosters, schedules, and ticket pages. It's designed to keep readers inside the university's ecosystem. The only outside elements are the sponsor logos at the bottom, which reinforce the athletic program's partnerships. The Star Tribune, however, looks more like a standard newspaper layout. It has a hamburger menu with categories like sports, business, and politics, and the story sits alongside related articles and comments threads. There aren't any banner ads, but access is limited by a paywall. It's still polished and professional, but the goal is different. They're trying to keep readers engaged while also encouraging subscriptions. When you look beyond layout and writing, each site still communicates differently. On gophersports.com, the entire experience feels functional and consistent. Everything links back to the same network from football to basketball to ticket sales. It's built for quick reading and for fans who already follow the program closely. The Star Tribune site works more like a news hub. It's designed for browsing with related stories and sections that lead you to other sports or Minnesota news. The comment section under the story is also part of that design. It's meant to create discussion and keep people interacting with the site. So while Gopher Sports keeps the experience focused and closed off, the Star Tribune tries to open things up and encourage exploration. And in putting all this together, both outlets rely on the same information, the same stats, same quotes, but they serve completely different goals. The University of Minnesota Athletics article functions as an official recap. It's professional, factual, and positive, meant to maintain the team's image and connect fans to upcoming events. The Star Tribune story represents independent journalism. It interprets the same game through storytelling, analysis, and public conversation. They both show how media convergence connects everything through shared technology and sources, but the purpose and the audience determine how that information gets used. And that wraps up my presentation on media convergence in intercollegiate athletics. Thank you all for watching.